Welcome friends, my name is Wren, and today I'm chipping away at the Adventurer's Inventory Art Challenge. This challenge is about drawing a character's inventory, the objects they carry and wield. It was created by Lord of Nowhere on Tumblr, and I've been completing these prompts to help me write some new lore for my comic called The Mock Witch. Stick around if you want to see some magical plants. First off, let me briefly introduce the plot of my comic and its world. This is all in pre-production and subject to change, of course. The Mock Witch is a down-the-rabbit-hole fantasy comic I've been working on for about 3 years. You may also know this concept being called isekai in anime, where a protagonist is transported or brought into a new and strange world. My elevator pitch is, what if MacGyver was a teenage witch? Essentially, Bella is a regular human with no magical abilities, but the environment she inhabits is filled with magical plants. She improvises spells, potions, and effects using what's around her to survive after falling into this world through a tree stump. The world all of this takes place in is called Trieste. Everything and everyone is connected to a great mycelium-fused tree called l'albero del mondo, which translates to the world tree in Italian. It's inspired by Italian polytheism and Italian folk magic. In Trieste, every living creature is made from plants and fungi, from the animals to the humanoids. There is also no metalwork, so you have to get crafty with nature's resources. Why smelt a sword when there's a big plant that has razor-sharp leaves, right? In The Mock Witch, Bella comes across an abandoned house that seems to have been owned by a mysterious witch, filled with old handwritten journals logging various plants and creatures. To navigate this world, Bella has started keeping a journal of her own. These artworks are meant to be in the style of Bella's journal. She's thinking like a survivalist, taking efficient notes and details that will help her identify these plants in the future. The first weapon is Bella's sawtooth. It's a prickly plant covered in serrated barbs that makes it an excellent hack-and-slash machete. I combined a few plants when designing the sawtooth. My main inspiration was this plant we have in Florida called the saw palm. The stems have these super sharp serrated edges that hurt if you're not careful, but I also added in some traits from aloe and yucca plants. Both of these plants have thick, fleshy leaves, which I thought was perfect. I wanted something weighty and stable. I want Bella to be able to cut down vegetation in front of her, a la Indiana Jones and the like. During my design phase, I pretty much knew the idea of what I wanted immediately. I was looking for a shape similar to a barong machete, which already kind of looks like a leaf. On Pinterest, I found a photo of this machete that had almost a cactus look to it on the side, which I loved. I thought the flat edges of the leaves having an almost cheese grater texture was perfect. The sawtooth grows as a large bush that's low to the ground. The body of the leaves retain water just like a cactus, but furthermore, the water channels are split into two parts, and you can rip them vertically in half down the spine of the leaf, similar to how you can crack the shaft of a stalk of celery. When the water drains and the leaves dry out, they stiffen up, like petrified wood. When it comes to coloring, I have to always keep in mind Bella's color palette. She has a very warm, autumn-toned palette, and I want it to contrast nicely against backgrounds. She's not meant to look like she belongs in Trieste, if that makes sense. This world is filled with many vibrant colors, but I always want her a little warmer and divided from other items and the environment to make her stand out. It's why I think the pale lime green with an off-white rind was a pretty good choice. It complements her burgundy hair and doesn't mesh too harshly with the army green of her cargo pants. Next up is Bella's Sporelight, a bioluminescent mushroom that serves as a lantern. This mushroom dangles from thick mycelial roots on the underside of soil deposits in damp undergrowths, caves, and ridges. The vulva, that's a kind of tissue that surrounds the base of a new mushroom, curls into a hook-like structure when cut. As long as the cut stalk remains damp, the mushroom will continue to glow. Now, I will admit, while the majority of my magic system is inspired by real-world botany and mycology, this is where I throw in some creative flair and make things up. In this case, I was inspired by these cool mushroom ceiling lamps. I thought the light bulb made a perfect shape for the lantern along with the wide brim. The spore light is exactly that, a mushroom with bioluminescent spores held in a squishy sac, kind of like an egg white. Its spores spread through osmosis, dispersing out and below due to gravity. In terms of color and design, spore lights come in a wide variety of colors. This time I chose blue and yellow. My favorite part of this process was adding all of the highlights to the ball of spores. They're kind of like little orbs clustered together, mirrored after the way hibiscus pollen looks up close. I love the silhouette and design of this plant, the way it drops in this dramatic, almost witch hat-like way. It kind of reminds me of a Pokemon. I could envision little eyes and everything. I think the contrast between the large brim and the round sac make for an interesting design. Last but certainly not least is prompt 3, a flask. Here I have drawn 2 potion bottles of a little magical solution called the sight. In my world, magic falls out of the visible light spectrum, rendering it invisible to humans. The ability to perceive magic is referred to as someone having the sight. Triestans have extra cones in their eyes that allow them to see more colors, which allows them to see magical effects. When you take this potion via eyedropper, you temporarily will be able to see Triestan magic as well once the potion interacts with your optic nerve. If you use it enough, new cones will begin to grow, extending the time you can see between doses. I think this is a very fun explanation for magic and why it is kind of unknown to humans. After all plants, including those on Earth, are descended from labero, and it's a pale reflection of magic in Trieste. Magic exists on Earth, like the way my plant magic works, but it's just smaller in the form of those medical uses that a lot of plants have, or poisons. I use this to allude to the real magic that does come from plants, because nature is magical in the sense that plants are what sustain all living things. In the Western world, 40% of drugs at pharmacies are derived from plants. The science of botany is truly a wonderful, life-saving thing, and in my world, Trieste is the cause of that wonder. The sight simply allows you to see what's going on. In this case, a potion of the sight is concocted using the pollen of a particular plant. I haven't named it yet, but basically Bella ends up with the sight on accident after falling into Trieste. She sees this flower, looks at it up close, and it puffs pollen at her face and into her eyes. Some plants burst with pollen and seeds as well, which gave me the idea. I studied a lot of various flask designs, but in the end I always knew what Bella's everyday bottle would look like. It would be this delicate yet simple teardrop bottle. I loved the vial of liquid luck from Harry Potter, not the author, but I liked the bottle, and used that for inspiration. For larger quantities, I figured Bella, being the practical person she is, would put it in a large jug that would sit neatly on the counter, but would also be easy to carry. I went in with this neat hollow triangle that had a strap around the sides, perfect for hauling over your shoulder. The liquid itself is a rich yellow gold with a watercolor effect. I wanted something vibrant and enchanting, and out of all of these, this was the prompt I was most excited to draw. I always knew what this potion would look like, and finally bringing it to life made me super happy. Out of these, which was your favorite? Do you have any magical plant ideas? I am always looking for suggestions. There will likely be more videos like this because I'm obsessed with my world. It kind of lives in my brain rent-free, and this challenge has helped me write a ton of lore. I easily have 8 sketches total and more on the way, and I want to keep drawing more things. Sketching traditionally and finalizing things digitally has saved me a lot of time, and it's gotten me to finally use a sketchbook again. If you like art, comics, and storytelling, consider subscribing. And if you'd like to join the Crow's Nest Discord server filled with other creative and friendly people, the invite link is in the description. If you like my channel and you're feeling generous, I have a tip jar linked down below. Just remember to stay hydrated, stay safe, and be yourself. Ciao!